Valheim is hands down one of the best games I ever played. Survival, exploration, and pure Viking chaos. After pushing through 200 days, I'm back for another 100. This is 300 days in this brutal, beautiful world. New challenges, new builds, and a whole lot more trouble. So without further ado, let's jump in. Alright, day 200. I'm out here in the plains and the first thing I did was plant some barley. Gonna keep the farm going. Then I headed back to base to craft a few needle arrows. Always good to stay ready. After that, I planted some turnips too, and the garden's really starting to fill out. I figured it was a good time to head back to the mountains and explore a bit more. On the way, I ran into a few enemies, including a golem just blocking the path like it owned the place. While walking around, I stumbled on a frost cave. Inside, there were a bunch of bats, some crystals, and of course, those were wolves. Deeper in the cave, I ran into this enemy called a cutlass, who started throwing fireballs at me. Not the warm welcome I was hoping for, but I managed. Pick up some new materials too. Red jute, Fenris claw, and Fenris hair should be useful later on. Back at base, I cooked up some food. The ice cream's a favorite, gives a solid stamina boost, and it looks kind of cool too. Then I made my way to swamp biome to grab some iron, so I could craft iron nails. Only problem, I forgot the swamp key. So I went back, came back again, and guess what? I forgot it again. Took a bit of running around but I finally found it. Once I was in, I started gathering some irons and in the outside some Asian barks. But of course, an abomination popped up. Those things hit hard and are a pain to dodge. Not my best skill, honestly, and man, this abomination is a pain. It keeps hitting me and that knockback really messes me up. After that, I took it down. I kept chopping ancient trees and surprise! Another one showed up, took care of it, and finally, I was able to craft 100 iron nails. Next, I went back to the plains to collect some fine wood. Needed it for building a boat and setting up a portal. Of course, a few enemies showed up to crush the moment. I just sat back for a second and watched this black goofy creature and a troll fight each other. The troll didn't last long.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
After all that, I built a workbench and put together the boat. Before heading out, I also built a portal at base and made sure to bring the ingredients for the other end. And at this point, I started sailing away from my base. On the way out, the side of my boat actually bumped against a rock. Not my proudest moment, but we kept going. I decided to head over to the island just across the water. It's literally right in front of my base, so it was a quick trip. When I arrived, I got off the boat and started walking toward the mountain. My goal was to find the location of the next boss. While climbing up, a wolf ran into me, but I managed to handle it. After getting a bit higher, I found another frost cave. As soon as I entered the cave, a bunch of bats flew straight at me. No surprise there. I also found some more crystal inside, which was a nice bonus. And finally, I came across what I think was a rune stone. This is the one that shows the location of Moder, the dragon boss in the mountain biome. So that was a big win. While I kept exploring the cave, a group of cultists caught me off guard. They backed me into a corner and I didn't even notice my health was running low. Before I knew it, I was dead. Since I died, I quickly gathered the materials I needed. I had to collect 3 things: wood, resin, and leather scraps, so I could build a raft. The island was nearby anyway, just right across from where I was. After I got everything, I built the raft and set off right away. As you can see here, I could already spot my big boat in the distance. When I arrived back at the island right near the mountain, I was immediately chased by wolves and getting attacked by drakes, so I just kept running. Once I managed to recover my gear, I went straight for revenge and took down the enemies that killed me earlier. After getting out of the mountain, I came across a bunch of boars, a whole group of them, so I took them all out too. It actually felt pretty satisfying, especially knowing I could now make a lot more sausages for food. When I finally got back to base, I took a quick sleep and the next morning I set sail again. The bus location was a bit far, so I made sure to travel during the day to avoid serpents. Sailing at night is risky and I didn't want to deal with any surprises in the water. Once I reached the shore near the boss location, enemies were already waiting for me. After dealing with them, I immediately built a small shelter where I could place a bed and a portal. It wasn't fancy or anything, but it got the job done. And that's all I really needed. Since I died, I headed back to base first to repair my gear. While I was there, I also cooked up some food to get ready for the next adventure. After that, I harvested my turnips. I needed to replant them too, so I wouldn't run out. Turnips are one of the key ingredients I use for cooking, so I always make sure the supplies keep growing. Once I finished farming, I went back to the plains and started making my way toward the mountain. On the way, I ran into a troll that got stuck between a tree and some rocks. It couldn't move at all, so I just finished it off with my bow. I also ran into a few dead squirrels and took them out too. As I climbed up the mountain, a few drakes tried to slow me down again, but when I finally reached the top, I found the boss altar. This is where I'll need to place the 3 dragon eggs to summon Mother. Before doing that, I spent some time exploring the mountain more. I found a chest that had an onion in it, and that honestly felt great. It's always exciting to find a new food ingredient, especially one that gives an even better stat boost. After that, I started searching for dragon eggs. I managed to place 2 of them at the altar, but I held off on placing the third one. Instead, I built a small shelter nearby so I have a place to rest and set up before the boss fight. Once that was done, I went back to base to store the items I collected from the mountain. I started by planting the onions I had collected, then made some black soup to get ready before heading back to the mountain. Once I was geared up, I made my way back up. While walking around, I noticed this foggy area that looked kind of eerie. The vibe there was really different, dark, mysterious, and a bit creepy. I wasn't sure, but it might have been the Mistlands. I haven't actually explored that biome yet, so I just kept my distance. After that, I grabbed the last dragon egg and brought it to the altar to summon Mother, the mountain boss. While I was waiting for her to spawn or him, I didn't expect her to appear right behind me. Totally caught me off guard. She started breathing ice and sending out gusts of freezing wind, and the damage was no joke. What made things worse was a random stone golem showing up and just adding more chaos to the fight. I was trying to dodge both of them, but eventually I got taken out again. I respawned and started running back, but wolves were chasing me non-stop. I was just about to put my armor on when they took me out again, and I made another attempt to recover my gear. But I didn't realize the drop was so steep. I fell straight down and died again. Eventually, we made it back down to the mountain, but honestly, at that point, it was clear I wasn't ready to take her down yet. When I got back to base, I finally crafted a silver shield, something I honestly forgot to make earlier. I also made a bunch of fire arrows to help me out for the next fight. Once I returned to the mountain, actually not in the mountain, I went straight in and fought Mother again. This time, the battle felt more manageable. I could actually go toe to toe with her now. The only problem was my sword. It was barely doing any damage. So that's when I realized I really needed to upgrade my weapon if I wanted a proper shot at winning. During the fight, I ended up dying again, and when I tried to go back and recover my gear, I didn't even notice I was freezing to death from the cold before I could grab my stuff. It was one of those moments where you just stare at the screen and hi. I had to cook up more food again because I kept dying with barely any health left. After I finally managed to recover my gear, I decided to head over to the Black Forest. I figured it was time to start upgrading my equipment properly. Once I got there, I built a small shelter just to make things easier while I was exploring. My main goal was to find circling cores inside the burial chambers. I needed them to craft another portal so I could start looking for a new swamp biome and gather more iron. That way, I could finally upgrade my gear and work toward crafting a silver sword. While searching through the caves, I ended up collecting 14 circling cores, a really solid haul. So the trip was definitely worth it. When I got back to base, I immediately harvested my onions. With those, I unlocked some new recipes like onion soup, wolf skewer, and a few other tasty things to help boost my stats even more. From day 215 to 218, I started by gathering some fine wood so I could craft another portal. Before leaving my base, once I had everything ready, I quickly built the portal, set sail, and left home. While sailing, I was looking for a spot that had both a black forest nearby and a swamp biome. The only problem was I ran out of grey dwarf ice, one of the key materials needed to craft another portal. So when I finally found a good location, I immediately got swarmed by enemies from the swamp spawners. I had to fight off a bunch of them, aiming to get at least 10 grey dwarf ice. After clearing them out and collecting enough, I set up another small shelter where I could place my portal. With that done, I headed straight into the swamp biome and began searching for a sunken crypt. Of course, I got ambushed by all sorts of swamp creatures along the way. But when I finally found a dungeon, I dove right in and started looking for iron. The place was crawling with enemies, but I just fought my way through and looted everything I could. By the time I was done, I managed to walk away with 76 pieces of iron, which I think is more than enough to craft the gear I need. And after all that, I went back to my little shelter and got some rest. Finally, and well-deserved sleep after all the chaos. So here I am, sailing out on my boat, heading to the swamp near the chest that got some iron in it. I need that iron to craft new gear, gotta start upgrading so I'm more prepared for what's ahead. When I got there, I picked up all the iron I could, loaded into the boat, and left the swamp right away. Didn't want to stick around too long, things get rough fast out there. Hopefully, once I get my upgrades done, I'll be ready to take on Molder. We'll see how that goes. As soon as I got back to base, I unloaded everything and dropped the iron into the smelter to start melting it down. While that was working, I picked some onions, planted their seeds, and did the same with my turnips. Gonna keep the food going. After that, I chopped up some wood to get ready for making more coal. Can't do much without a steady supply. On day 221, I started off making some food because honestly I was starving. After that, I had a rough time dragging around all the silver and iron just to get some gear crafted.
A few minutes later.
But finally I managed to make a silver sword, and man, that felt good. I also ended up crafting a wolf fur cape, so I'm definitely looking a bit more heroic now. I made a quick trip to the plains to gather some fine woods, since I needed it to upgrade both my shield and silver sword. Of course, it wouldn't be Valheim without some random enemy showing up, just to make things harder. But after I collected what I needed, I went straight back and upgraded my gear right away. Then I took a quick break, just sat down for a bit, waiting for all the iron to finish smelting. While I was sitting there, I figured why not head over to the Black Forest and farm some grey dwarf ice. I need those to make more ice cream. After all, so I jumped back into the fight and dealt with whatever came my way. Alright, it's finally boss fight day. But before anything else, I went to harvest some honey and onions first. Gotta fuel up right. And yes, I finally managed to cook up some wolf skewers and a few other foods. Took a short break after that, then it was time to face Moder. Thing is, the fight had not even officially started yet and Moder already hit me with an attack. No warm up at all, so of course I had to stay on the move, dodging every chance I got since Moder flies around and I had no choice but to go full archer mode. I used two types of arrows, fire and needle, to keep up with the damage. As you can see here, I was just blocking and dodging, trying not to get completely wrecked. And finally, I actually took Molder down. That fight was intense, seriously tough. After that, I pick up the Molder trophy and the Dragon tier, which means that I can finally craft the Artisan table. So I went ahead and placed the Molder trophy, and with that, Tailwind was now active. That's the skill it gives me. Definitely makes things easier. After that, I headed back to base to craft the Artisan table, which means I can now build all sorts of new things, like the stone oven, windmill, and the blast furnace. Naturally, as soon as I had the blast furnace ready, I melted down the black metal I grabbed from the plains last time. And now that I have the windmill, I can finally start making barley flour, which is one of the key ingredients for Lux Pie. That's some serious upgrade stuff right there. I made a quick trip to the plains to expand my farm there with some barley and flax. After that, I went hunting for lox since I needed their meat for some recipes. While I was out and about, I also took the chance to gather more flax and barley. But of course, it wasn't going to be that easy. There were so many goblins following me around, it felt like I was some kind of celebrity with a fan club. But I wasn't about to let them get best of me, so I gave them a few good whacks. After taking care of that, I grabbed all the barley, flax, and other items from the village or camp in the area. On day 231, I went back to farming barley and flax. Because of course I'm going to need more. I also chopped down some wood to craft and a spinning wheel, so I could start making thread. And of course, I used some flax to get that done. With the thread, I can craft padded gear, which is way better than my current armor. Plus, since I got black metal now, I can finally make some black metal gear, like the black metal axe and other cool stuff. After that, I headed over to Forge to see how to craft all the new gear I could make. I decided to head back to the swamp biome to search for chains, since I'll need them to craft some new gear that I know will really help me out, especially in the plains, and when I eventually try to explore the Mistlands, which I haven't even touched yet. I only managed to find 6 chains though, which honestly isn't enough, considering how many dungeons I went through, so I headed back to plains for now to replant my flax and barley. Once I had enough, I threw the flax into the spinning wheel, dropped the barley into the windmill, and started smelting black metal in the blast furnace, all running at the same time. It was a full-on production line. I headed back to the plains to gather some barley again. After I was done there, I immediately brought everything back and tossed the barley into the windmill to turn it into a flour. I checked on the onions, but they were not ready for harvest yet, so I just went ahead and collected some honey instead. After that, I made my way to the swamp to look for some chains I'll need for crafting new gears. As soon as I got back to base, I decided to cook up some lox meat. So I crafted an iron cooking station, and once it was built, I grilled the lox meat I had. Man, it felt great, like I was really making progress in the game. That's when I also thought of building a food preparation table, which now lets me craft lox pie and bread, though I'll need to bake those in a stone oven. At this point, I grabbed my stash of black metal so I could finally craft my black metal gear. I made an axe, a sword, and a shield. And of course, now that I had these awesome new weapons, I figured it was the perfect time to go lox hunting, to stock up on meat, and to test if these new tools were really worth it. So I went out and started hunting a bunch of lox. I needed the meat anyway, and with the new shield I made, hunting felt way easier and more manageable. The next day, I just repaired my gear and decided to head back to the plains to gather more black metal. I really needed to upgrade my black metal gear, so I prepared quickly and made my way over. Fully ready this time because the goblins in that area hit hard, especially if I run into one of those huge ones. While exploring, I started smashing enemies and even passed through some tar that slows you down if you step in it. As I kept moving through the area, I kept farming tons of black metal. I ran into a few of those big goblins too. And yes, they were a real struggle to deal with. Good thing I still had my bone mass skill activated, which really helped. Then, just my luck, I suddenly got the haunted event. Out of nowhere, a whole bunch of wolves started swarming me. But I managed to take them all down. Got a good amount of meat from them too, so not bad at all. After that, I spent some time planting and harvesting my onions. I'm trying to build up a good supply of those. Of course, I didn't forget to farm my barley too. There's just something satisfying about knowing I'll be turning all that into lox pie and bread later. Once that was done, I went up to gather some fine wood because I was planning to build a boat. But before doing that, I made a quick stop to grab Mother's power, so I always have to win on my side when I finally sail. The plan is to transport all the black metal I gathered from the plains back to my base. Once I finished building the boat, I immediately set sail from the plains, bringing along all the black metal I had gathered. While I was sailing, I started thinking about my next plans, really hoping everything goes smoothly from here on out. As soon as I reached the shore, I crafted a cart to make it easier to haul everything back to my base in one trip. And when I finally got back home, I replanted some more onions and got straight to smelting all that black metal in the blast furnace. Of course, once I got back, I went ahead and made some lox pie. After that, I gathered a ton of wood to start making charcoal for the blast furnace. Since I had a lot of black metal to smelt, so now I'm just waiting for everything to finish smelting. If you made it this far into the video, consider subscribing. I got more videos like this coming soon, and I'm sure you enjoyed them even more. So yeah, feel free to hit that like button and subscribe if you're having a good time so far. As you can see here, I got a ton of black metal smelting at this point. So I went ahead and upgraded my shield and sword. But then, out of nowhere, I accidentally misclicked and ended up crafting a whole new sword instead of upgrading the one I already had. After that, I headed over to the swamp biome to gather some iron, since I was planning to upgrade my padded armor next. So I started roaming around the swamp, ready to collect every bit of iron I could find. So yeah, as you can see here, I threw the iron straight into the smelter, so that by the time I bring it back to base, it'll be ready to use. It does take a while though. I already had the materials prepared for building a new boat too. So now it's really just a waiting game. While all of this melts down, I ended up just sitting back at my base, waiting for the iron to finish smelting. Honestly, waiting for scraps like this is one of the most relaxing parts of Valheim. Just vibing and letting the game do its thing. What do you guys think? Any game you recommend we try for another 100-day challenge? Drop your suggestions in the comments. I love to hear what you all want to see next. I really want to make content you enjoy, so let me know what you're into. And while you're here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss it when we start something new. At this point, I went back to check on my iron and kept refilling the smelters with coal. They ran out pretty fast, so I also had to load up the charcoal kiln with more wood to keep the coal production going. The iron smelting was almost done, so while waiting, I went out to gather some ancient bark since I'm planning to upgrade my bow next. My plan now is to head over to the Mistlands and finally take down the boss in the plains. Last time I went near it, the fog was honestly kind of terrifying. I wonder what's really waiting in the Mistlands. What kind of gear can you find there? What's new? What are the enemies are hiding in all that fog? It's super exciting just thinking about it. But before all that, we're taking down the plains boss first. So I need to prepare and make sure all my gear is fully upgraded and ready for the fight. So as you can see here, I'm checking the iron I'm bringing back to base. The materials for the boat are already prepared too, and everything's ready to go. And here we are, I set sail. You might be wondering why not just use the boat I made last time. Well, that wouldn't take in 2 trips this way. It's a one-way haul, way less hassle. And once I reached the shore, I brought all the iron straight to my base, all of it, and I'm happy. When I got back to base, I started by planting some onions. I really need to stock up on those. After that, I went ahead and upgraded my armor. And of course, I didn't forget to farm my barley. Since I was planning to head out, I made a quick trip to the Black Forest to look for some certain cores. While I was there, I ran into the boss of the cave and lucky me, he dropped a chest that he'll be bringing to Hildir. Then just as I was heading out, so guess what? I ran into a troll. Because why not, right? When I got back to base, I started cooking some food, made some bread and all that. I waited for it to finish baking before heading out again. After that, I went back to Black Forest to hunt some Grey Dwarfs because I needed their eyes to craft a portal. Once I gathered enough, I built the portal so I could travel more easily. With that done, I set sail again to continue my exploring. I stopped by Hildir to deliver the chest I picked up earlier from the cave. After that, I left and sailed toward a faraway place. Along the way, I passed through the Mistlands. And honestly, I could not see a thing. It was all thick fog like sailing through the cloud. On day 269, I started getting ready to fight the boss, Yaglut. So after grabbing Bone Mass buff, I left the base and made my way to Plains Altar. While I was there, I waited for my teammate, my brother, who wanted to join the fight against Yaglut. So while waiting, I just danced around a bit, relaxed like I didn't have a care in the world. Once my brother arrived, I placed all the totems on the altar to summon Yaglut. And as soon as we spawned, we jumped him with our swords and axes. Turns out, his damage is no joke. His element is fire and he's got this shockwave skill that burns you and even rains down flaming meteors. So it was a chaos.
That's a lot of damage.
We died a lot during this fight, so eventually we decided to build a portal nearby because every time we died, we had to run all the way back to get our stuff. And honestly, that was just way too much hassle. I headed back to base first to repair all the gear I used in the fight earlier. While I was there, I figured it might as well to go hunt some logs since I was running low on meat for cooking. So after a bit of hunting, I went straight to preparing food, got right into cooking as soon as I got back. I also decided to make some fire resistant potions, something I didn't even think about back when we were fighting Yaglut. So I started fermenting them, but since that takes a while, I headed out again. I was planning to look for some barley, but of course, Yaglut had already burned the area, so I ended up going to a different part of the plains and just hunted more logs instead. When I finally got back to base, the fire resistance potions were done fermenting. Finally, so I grabbed them right away. Before leaving the base, I cook up some more food to get ready. After that, I rushed straight back to Yaglut for a rematch. But this time, I was going solo. My brother had to step away for now. The fight with Yaglut was intense. I made sure to use my fire resistant potion right away, and it honestly helped a ton. I also came up with a strategy to beat him. I used these big rocks nearby to block his meteors, since that's what kept killing me last time. I faced him head on using just my shield and my upgraded black metal sword. The fight dragged on for a while, but in the end, I finally took him down. I got the Torn Spirit and the Yaglut trophy as my reward, totally worth it. We brought the trophy over to the stones, and that's when I realized that the buff it gives is pretty similar to Bone Mass, just a slight difference in resistance. At this point, my brother had rejoined me, so we went off explore again. It felt great to be adventuring together once more. This time, we headed to the Mistlands, where we ran into some rogues who were actually helping us fight off goblins and other enemies in the area. I picked up some fruit and wood, which means I can finally craft a black metal axe. We headed back to base to build a stone cutter and a wisp fountain, which gives off light, super useful when heading back into the Mistlands, since the fog makes it nearly impossible to see anything there. Oh, and I also managed to craft a black metal pickaxe. I went back to the Mistlands to try out my wisp, which gives off a light and clears the fog as I walk through. While exploring, I found some buildings and there were insect-like enemies nearby. I ended up just watching for a while as the rogues and the insects fought each other. It was kind of entertaining. Then out of nowhere, this wizard showed up and started throwing magic attacks around. It's a total chaos. I wandered around the Mistlands for a bit and I started realizing just how tough this biome really is. I had no clue what I was supposed to do here. Everything felt unfamiliar and overwhelming. So I decided to head back to base to gather some stones and just build a new stone base instead. I actually ran out of stone, so I ended up mining this huge boulder I found in the plains. I needed a lot of stone for the base I was building. But of course, while I was in the middle of mining, an event triggered and a bunch of skeletons decided to crash the party, so I just couldn't mine in peace. I finally finished mining all the stone I needed, which honestly took me a few in-game days. I was doing it all by myself, and of course, enemies kept showing up and messing with me while I was mining. Once I had everything, I hauled the stone back from the plains and went straight into building my new base. No more delays, just focus on getting it done. So here, I am back at base, planning to go out and gather some wood. But before that, I figured I should farm my barley since I've been kind of neglecting it. I really needed to restock on food too because I've been running out way too often lately. After that, I went back to building my new base. I've been putting a lot of thought into the design because I really want it to look good. It takes time to come up with a layout that actually works, but as you can see, it's slowly coming together. And here we are, day 300, the final day. It really hit me, looking back at everything I went through over these past 100 days. The battles, the grind, the struggles. You really have to put in the work just to get the right gear and stand a chance in a fight. Honestly, this has been one of the best experiences I had in Valheim. And I think this is where we'll end our 300-day journey. I hope you truly enjoyed this new chapter. I know it might feel a bit short, but I put a lot of time into this just for you. Share this with your friends and don't forget to hit like and subscribe and drop your suggestions for the next 100-day adventure you want to see. I'll be making more content like this, so make sure you don't miss out. That's it for now. See you in the next one. Shee.